Indie games are pretty cool, but even the ones that are considered hip in the scene aren't exactly running TV commercials and billboard campaigns. That's why I'm here to waste my life away to find games you've only dreamed of, and games that if you did dream of, I might be a bit concerned. If you've heard of them all though, congrats, and welcome to the support group for people who need a bit more vitamin D. A little over 3 years ago, I made the first video in this indie recommendation series, and the first game I talked about was none other than Lethal League Blaze, Team Reptile's crazy baseball fighting game. I then ended the video by getting pumped at the reveal trailer for their newest game, Bomb Rush Cyberfunk.
Let's fucking go! Let's fucking go!
Flash forward to today, this game Bomb Rush Cyberfucks, I wrote that.
Easy breezy.
Bomb Rush Cyberfunk is a video game. I don't mean this in like a factual sense, because duh. I mean this in an experiential sense. When you distill the concept of video game into an essence and shoot it straight into your veins, this is what it feels like. Oozing with flair and style, BRC is one part open zone 3D platformer with secrets and exploration, and another part graffiti spraying, trick chaining arcade combo game that's just oh so Jet Set Radio. Well, from what I've heard. I've never actually played Jet Set, so yeah. In BRC, you travel to various boroughs in an attempt to go all city, facing off in races and score attacks with rival crews while spreading your graffiti so hard that the local police send in fucking armored guards and attack helicopters. You know what, that checks out. The base trick system is very simple. You just press 3 different buttons. But when you throw in boost tricks, timer resets, manuals, rail grinding, corner leaning, and wall running, it's just one of those games that makes you feel awesome. Consistently awesome. For like 20 hours. Each map has its own flair and brings something new to the table in terms of exploration and combos. Millennium Mall has this super vertical main room where you have to wrap your way around jumps and wall runs to get to the top, and Pyramid Island is filled with twisting, spiraling rails and a tunnel system that'll pop you out at different locations. And the music, man! The sheer variety of jams included in this game is just fantastic. One moment you'll be flailing out of your seat mid-score attack to and then you're setting a new high score to a cutesy J-pop song. And then you're walking around looking for graffiti spots and while the main story provides a solid amount of content on its own, I actually spent a majority of my playtime searching for the secrets and graffiti spots scattered around each map. There's a lot of stuff here. New sprays, music tracks, vehicle skins, alternate outfits, unlockable characters, and more. And they make exploring every nook and cranny of the map feel rewarding. You might have to search for a hidden path to get on top of a building, or scour around for little entrances to underground bazaars, which is all a nice change of pace from regular missions. My one minor disappointment is that the skateboard, inline skates, and BMX operate exactly the same, so you only ever need to switch for a couple obscure little unlockables, like the garages that only open if you park in front of them with a bike, or the fire hydrant looking thing that you can spin on with the skateboard. Keeping the scale of the game's team in mind and the overall quality of everything else, this isn't really a drawback. I just think it would have been neat if there were a couple small differences between the styles in terms of speed, platforming, or trick inputs. To be honest, the only thing I wanted more of in Bomb Rush was difficulty. The story mode and optional missions are very easy, but that lack of challenge is pretty baked into the game's design. I would have loved to see more difficulty in the realm of optional races or score attacks, but since the mechanics are so streamlined, there isn't a lot of room for skill expression outside of more complicated or dangerous environments, which would have gone against the casual vibe the game is designed around. Hidden graffiti spots and collectibles often require you to make trickier jumps, and there is the occasional secret platforming area or dream sequence, but I was always itching to engage with the game's movement on a deeper level. Going for the massive multi-million combo achievements was one of my favorite parts of the experience, since it requires chaining together almost every corner and wall ride across multiple rooms to up the multiplier. But outside of missing a rare jump or hitting a set of stairs the wrong way, it's pretty hard to drop combos since boost tricks can serve as an infinite reset for your manual timer. I've obviously got my minor thoughts and annoyances, but in the face of such a passionate and exciting experience, it's like, fucking, who cares? You can literally text and drive. You can play games on your phone while weaving through traffic and grinding on rails. Now that is innovation. Doing sick tricks around a giant pyramid island while a symphony of hip-hop, future funk, DJ mixes, and sound effects are slamming my eardrums just makes me go, man, I love video games! And I can tell the developers do too. The vision is uncompromising, the style is overwhelming, and the vibes are immaculate. And they put Jet and Switch from Lethal League in as DLC, so scratch any complaints from the record. When I heard those snarky little fucks yelling,
Nailed it! Pop it!
Overclocked!
I felt like that really fucked up looking emoji, the face holding back tears one. To no one's surprise, Team Reptile knocked it out of the park once again, and I'm so pumped to see what the future holds for them. Guess you could say I just can't get enough? Come on.
Kick it off! Yeah! Digging it!
Lift off!
Alright, so you've played Bomb Rush, loved it, earned every combo achievement like a true gamer, and now you're looking for something to really test your skills. Maybe a 3D platformer with fast and fluid movement mixed with the freedom of a Metroidvania, all in a low-poly graphical style where the main character is a goat with a huge ass? Wait, damn girl, are you the song Precious Thing from the Bomb Rush Cyberfunk original soundtrack? Because... Pseudoregalia was originally made for a game jam before being expanded into a lovely bite-sized experience where you platform around a castle, fight little monsters, and obtain new movement abilities to solve puzzles and search for hidden collectibles. It's only a few hours long, which was a refreshing change of pace for a Metroidvania. But in addition to this little indie game having some of the most satisfying movement I've ever seen in a 3D platformer, my favorite part about Pseudoregalia is how every new move adds onto a growing sense of expressiveness. What starts as a simple 3D platformer with a jump button quickly evolves as every new ability effortlessly integrates into your existing moveset, allowing you to explore each room in a variety of ways. As you internalize the game's movement and start chaining everything together, you can start creating your own skips and even find a handful of sequence breaks. For example, the pole jump comes with a hidden backflip if you cancel it mid-air, so you can easily climb high ledges by pole jumping, kicking off a wall, and then immediately backflipping to turn around and grab it. I also managed to check out the final area early and grab the wall run ability by using the same trick, instead of first finding the slide jump, which is the more intended method. I'm sure many areas were designed like this on purpose, but whether I was actually cheating the intended order or not, my platforming skills were constantly being put to the test, and I was in the fucking zone for every second of it. I didn't put this game down till I was done. Plus, it's just incredibly satisfying to backtrack through the whole map once you've collected the movement abilities, wall running and slide jumping through what were once challenging rooms in the blink of an eye. I was just sitting in a Discord call, and in the span of 2 hours, I think I said, "Oh my god, that's so cool," at least 5 times. I'm starting to think 3D platformers are the objectively best game genre. The music's great too, simple but fits the PS1 aesthetic perfectly. I especially like the uneven tempo of Listless Library, which gives it a sleepy, comforting feeling, like it's being played from a music box. I also love Paramnesiac, the final boss theme, cause I don't know, it's really good. Again, I'm just floored at how impressive this game is, and priced at a mere $6, it's a no-brainer of a recommendation. The fact that it was made by a single developer after a game jam is even more mind-boggling, so I'm very excited to see what they cook up next. She go deep on my rock till I'm galactic. She rock me deep till I'm galactic. She go galactic on my rock till I'm deep? What?
We got a hell of a blip heading your way, team. Get ready.
Oh yeah, let's do this. We are unbreakable. Rock and stone.
With over 190,000 reviews on Steam, Deep Rock Galactic is by no means an underrated indie game, but it is a fantastic one, and it's also one of the games I get asked to talk about most frequently. Okay, fuck, stop it! So if you already know it, just enjoy a few minutes of me singing its praises, because I know at least a couple of you fuckers are here from the thumbnail. I gotta get people interested in weird shit somehow. Deep Rock Galactic is the dwarven fantasy. Getting drunk, killing bugs, and making money.
We're rich. We're rich. We're rich. We're rich. We're rich.
This is an unspoken rule of the game. If you see a gold chunk, everyone just runs up and pings the hell out of it, and it never stops being funny.
Mushroom.
Enough about the mushrooms.
Deep Rock is a PvE first-person shooter where you and up to 3 other dwarves go on various missions to kill bugs, fight bosses, and extract precious resources. On some missions, you might be mining for rare minerals or setting up pipes to extract liquid morkite, also the pipes are grind rails, that part is very important, and other times you'll have to fight a giant floating robot triangle. It's incredibly replayable thanks to procedurally generated map layouts that heavily impact exploration and combat encounters, alongside a random rotation of various mini-bosses and events. On top of that, there are environment modifiers like low oxygen, more minerals, or ghost bugs to keep you on your toes, along with 5 different hazard levels and multi-mission long deep dives if you're really looking to up the tension.
See, dude, this is why I said we do Has 5. Like, they're just like me, man. They want to feel something. You know? Has 4 will not do the job.
Don't ever go to a casino. This might already sound like a hell of a lot on its own, but don't worry, I haven't even started talking about the class system yet. Each of the 4 classes, Engineer, Driller, Gunner, and Scout, can contribute to the team in different ways, be it by building turrets and platforms, quickly digging holes, setting up zip lines for transportation, or lighting up rooms and grappling to resources. Each of these classes can be leveled up and promoted, unlocking upgrade trees for their weapons and entirely alternate weapons. You can also earn overclock cores, which can be equipped to a weapon to drastically change the way it functions, turning a laser gun into a stationary spinning death blaster or modding a shotgun to launch you into the air. Plus, since every mission has different objectives, terrain, and combat encounters, there's no one best build for every situation, encouraging you to experiment with different combinations. But my favorite part about this game has to be the atmosphere, both in its own silliness and how its gameplay design inspires a positive community. In the hub area, drinks at the bar are used to grant small perks before a mission, but you can also order wacky concoctions that make you blast around or teleport out into space.
I feel like I should be concerned about this.
Oh boy. Oh shit. Oh god. Oh, where am I? Oh, what's happening?
Limited events will add mini objectives and cute decorations. There's tons of funny unlockable cosmetic items. The dwarves constantly sing and yell at each other during missions. There's a dedicated cheer button.
For rock and stone.
And there's literally an achievement for successfully kicking a barrel into every available seat on the drop pod. I didn't even know it existed. I just did it because I was bored and thought it would be funny. This isn't some hyper-intensive PvP experience. It's a game about shouting drunk dwarves on a bug-killing spree, and there are a lot of subtle ways the game helps remind players that everyone is on the same team. There's no active scoreboard to monitor. Kills are collaborative efforts and help keep everyone safe. safe, and every mineable resource is shared between the party. Most interactables, like building and defense points, are more efficient with multiple hands, and many objectives can be made easier by tossing objects to allies. The engineer can help the scout by placing platforms in high places, the driller can dig through walls for a more convenient escape route, and the list goes on. Playing with less experienced dwarves never feels like a burden, but instead an opportunity to help them learn while showing off a bit of your gaming prowess every time you revive them. And in the event that you accidentally blow someone up or get shot in the face, well, that's just comedy.
Retrieving escape pod.
Wait, he's on the... Wait,
He died.
It's clear that all of these choices have paid off wonderfully for Deep Rock, inspiring a welcoming community for players of all skill levels, even when it comes to the smallest gesture, like being greeted with a chorus of rockin' stones after dropping into a mission in progress. The one big critique I do have with Deep Rock is that while this game feels absolutely tailor-made for kicking back with the boys and having fun, it's pretty difficult to unlock new weapons and content unless you play alone or in random lobbies that share your current mission. If you're working towards getting a new weapon or promotion and your friends have a different mission in their set or want to do standard weeklies, you have to abort your current selection and lose all progress to pick something new. I'd personally like to see some changes to the mission system that let me make progress more consistently, especially when I'm onboarding new players. But even just being able to put one set of missions on pause to go do weeklies or sync up with friends would go a long way. Despite this issue, Deep Rock has quickly become one of my new favorite multiplayer games, and always puts a big smile on my face every time I hop back in. I've dropped over 90 hours so far and feel like I've barely scratched the surface, although I'm willing to bet a few of those hours were spent platforming around like the floor is lava while I wait for everybody to log on and pick their loadout. While I usually stick to playing online games with friends, I've actually had a lot of fun playing solo. The random players I've encountered online have been really funny, relaxed, and forgiving. I think that's just the kind of community you can foster when your game isn't built around intense competition, and when you have a rock and stone button.
Rock and stone forever!
It's just wonderful to see a game as unique as Deep Rock thrive in the cutthroat world of online multiplayer, and I can tell that the devs at Ghost Ship Games are still striving to make it the best they possibly can. At its core, Deep Rock is built around camaraderie, cooperation, and plain old fun, and it does a damn good job at all three.
When its health gets to 0, do not be in like the fucking same zip code as it, okay? Just like be far away from it.
Oh, well, somebody's right next to
Oh,
it.
fuck.
Alright, how about a short and sweet recommendation? If you watched my last Indies video, or if you play too many games like I do, you might be familiar with Return of the Obra Dinn, a mystery deduction game in which you piece together the fateful events of a missing ship by exploring the final moments of its many deceased passengers. Case of the Golden Idol functions similarly and is an absolute joy to play. It's a genius little point-and-click detective game with a striking pixel art style that sometimes makes me feel like I'm playing it inside Hypnospace Outlaw. In Golden Idol, you're told the story of a mysterious ancient relic as it trades hands, and as you investigate each case, you'll find tons of little details: private letters, newspapers, crime scene weapons, talking heads, dead bodies, and more. These details are then converted to words that you use to fill out various puzzles. Most cases have shared puzzles like identifying every person in the scene and filling out a recap of the events that transpired, but the game carefully evolves with each case to keep things interesting. Shit starts out like, so there's two guys here, who killed who? But by the end, you're in full writing shit down on paper mode, like, alright, Bungus Bonson wore 5 silly hats to work last week. Now, according to the 4 virtues, that should dock him about 26 points, but the archer card he played does beat the boar. However, according to the positioning of the moon, we are in the Western Castle, which would change things because he's wearing the funny scarecrow mask. What the fuck? The base game took me about 4 hours to complete, which might be a bit short for some, but I kinda love games that are short and sweet. Golden Idol grips you with its immersive atmosphere and then races you through a wide variety of clever ideas without ever overstaying its welcome. And if you find yourself itching for more, there are 2 DLC expansions that throw you right into the deep end with challenges that rival the final missions of the base game. It's great stuff. Uh-oh, serious game alert, no jokes. Or maybe I'm just too lazy to write them. In Citizen Sleeper, you assume the role of a sleeper robot with an emulated mind between the boundary of human and machine. After escaping from your corporation, you find yourself on the Eye, a giant space colony at the edge of the universe. It's then up to you to make a new life for yourself while dealing with the past as it tries to catch up to you. Structurally, it's pretty simple. It's a sci-fi visual novel with role-playing elements built around dice rolls. Every cycle, you'll get a set of dice to perform various actions around the Eye. To keep yourself alive, you'll have to balance earning money, buying food for energy, and finding stabilizers to keep your condition intact. As the worse it gets, the less dice you get to roll. And the most interesting part of it all? Forced autosave. It feels weird that the thing my brain decided to focus on for this review is a technical decision outside the realm of the game itself, rather than a major plot point or aesthetic choice, but I think it's what helps Citizen Sleeper feel so compelling. There's a constant sense of tension at every dialogue choice and dice roll because you can't go back. You can't test the waters and try again. It removes the very notion of save scumming from the back of your mind and completely immerses you in the Eye's rich world as you feel the weight of every decision, whether immediate or delayed, forcing you to balance your own survival with the strict time limit of certain events. I played it for 5 hours straight the first day and got so immersed that I was throwing stressful dice rolls in my dreams that night. The one thing my mind got snagged on a bit as I played is that this tension can fade as you progress. On some levels, this feels like an intended piece of storytelling, reflecting the cutthroat struggle to stay alive in the early cycles before slowly building a life for yourself as the stories of others unfold. But by the time you've racked up skill passives and roll bonuses, the game loses a bit of its edge as the few time-gated quests become far less demanding. I do think some of this has to do with the fact that a lot of the endgame content is from 3 free episode updates that weren't part of the original experience, though. While they're some of the best stories the game has to offer, several additional hours of dialogue supplemented by slotting in dice with max stats and no consequences feels like the narrative rocket decoupling its role-playing cargo to go a little bit faster. However, if I had to rate this game simply on how much I enjoyed it, I'd give it a perfect score. As you progress, Citizen Sleeper becomes less about survival and more about building communities, supporting others, and finding a place to call home amidst the chaos. At first, I was almost put off by this shift in decisions. I half expected the entire game to be one long chain of life-threatening choices. But the writing gripped me so tightly that it didn't even matter. I was making dialogue choices that felt impossible and heartbreaking, yet with a clear answer in mind. Every story is masterfully written, so much so that even as you're reading the backstory of a chef who asked you to find mushrooms for his cooking, you're sitting there like, maybe I don't play enough writing-focused games, maybe it's recency bias, maybe it's that every ending line felt like a quote I want to sear into my mind, but this might be one of my new favorite narrative games of all time. I mean, when most of your game is a visual novel, it makes it a bit easier, but the quality of writing on display here, which was all done by a solo dev, by the way, is incredibly moving. Ironically, for a game about being a sleeper, an emulated mind drifting between the memories and consciousness of its past life and new existence as a machine, the first word that comes to mind in describing it is human. It's lovely. Every time I make a new video in this indie series, it's usually because I play one game that gets me so excited that I write the script in a frenzy and build the rest of the video around it several months later. This time, that game is Brutal Orchestra. Whenever I find a game this cool and this niche, there's always a little internal struggle. On one hand, I'm excited that I get to introduce it to so many people for the first time. But on the other, why the fuck hasn't everyone played Brutal Orchestra? Hieronymus Bosch's Brutal Orchestra is the comically twisted journey of a man's endless quest for revenge in the barren wastelands of purgatory. In other words, it's a roguelike. Now, the general pitch of its gameplay is a bit more complicated than that. It's a turn-based strategy game where you can move each of your characters around on a grid once per turn, and use abilities that affect different locations on said grid. But to use abilities, you need pigment, which enemies and allies drop when hit based on the color of their health bar, but you can also take self-damage to cast a move with the incorrect pigment. And if you have too much pigment in your inventory, your whole team will take damage at the end of a turn, and I'm running out of breath. In short, it's brutal. Orchestra. The defining trait of Brutal Orchestra's combat is the timeline, a detailed description of every enemy action that will occur once you end your turn. Barring a few exceptions, you know exactly what every enemy is going to do and where they're going to do it. This allows for an incredibly methodical system that forces you to carefully analyze these actions and switch up your strategy accordingly. You'll have to consider what pigment the enemy will drop, how damaging them might affect their status or location, and where your characters are going to land at the end of each turn, all while occasionally perusing the glossary to double check what all the passives and status effects mean. But even with plenty of preparation and deliberate choices, the game is still meant to, fuck with you a little bit. If you don't kill enemies fast enough, they'll debuff you, shuffle around, eat all your pigment, give you too much pigment, or transform into entirely new enemies. And I want you to guess what happens when the Music Man transforms. The music changes. The fucking music changes! Every run manages to feel unique thanks to an incredibly varied cast of characters. While your more basic recruits can do standard stuff like attack forward and to the sides, inflict debuffs, and heal, there's plenty of wacky shit as well. Characters that refresh their turns, redirect damage to allies, light enemies and themselves on fire. There's just a statue, he can't move. While it does take a bit of time to unlock new characters and items, the game grows more complex with each run as you realize that it's not just items that synergize with characters in interesting ways. This isn't your average roguelike where you play as one guy. Since you've got an entire party, characters and their items can synergize with each other. To give you an idea of how deep this can go, let's say you've got Fennec in your party. With his passive, he deals damage to the opposing enemy every time he takes direct damage. Good tank. Now put Splig in your party. He can change an ally's health color to his current health color, which switches between red and blue. Boom, now Fennec's health color is red instead of blue. Now that you have more red pigment, throw in Leviat, who uses red pigment to whip an enemy for a bunch of damage. But he also hits the ally to his right. But the ally to the right is Fennec, who triggers his passive to deal damage to the opposing enemy. And oh look, we gave Fennec the Grumpy Gump item, which deals 5 extra damage to the opposing enemy after taking any damage. What I'm saying is that it's a little more complex than selecting Tackle. Over the course of a run, you'll often encounter well over 5 party members. If you're confident enough in a huge damage setup, you can fill all 5 slots. But once attacks become unavoidable and enemies start to bust out the synergies, it can often feel better to stick with 3 or 4 to better avoid taking damage. In addition to the normal level fucked up things enemies can do, there's also advanced level fucked up things they can do when they chain shit together. Like if this one boss pours oil all over you and makes you slippery and you end your turn in the fire placed on the floor by the other boss, you die instantly because you're covered in oil. But sometimes the Loch Ness Monster gives you a little kiss. How nice. Oh, he ate me. Brutal Orchestra is great at instilling dread through its punishing gameplay while still finding time to sprinkle wacky comedy into its abstract atmosphere. Interactions with NPCs and recruitable characters are incredibly charming and remind me a lot of Shin Megami Tensei, where you can only recruit new team members by choosing the right dialogue options or fulfilling their bizarre requests. and everyone you talk to is at least a bit of an asshole.
I want you to take all your thoughts, comments, and opinions and shove them so far up your ass that I can't even hear a smothered whisper.
Kinda sounds like my YouTube comments. The music is also fucking killer. I know it's hard to differentiate with soundtracks when I say just about every one of them is good, but Brutal Orchestra's is fantastic. Every track matches the type of enemy you're fighting, from silly, funky tunes for weird fishmen, to a chorus of marching band horns in perfect sync with the dancing eyes of shadowy figures, to some absolutely demonic fucker 1 million BPM shit for the final boss. Also, if you're really into abstract depictions of life, death, religion, and humanity, you will love diving into this world. Even more so if you're one of the, like, 5 or 6 people out there that's an avid gamer and a fan of the Dutch painter Hieronymus Bosch, the guy that the game is inspired by. Yeah, those people are gonna lose their minds when they find out about this one. There's not much else left for me to say, other than that in addition to being charmed by every single piece of this game's aesthetic, the pixel art, the writing, and the music, I genuinely think this is one of the best turn-based combat systems I've ever seen, and that Brutal Orchestra deserves a spot alongside the other greats in the roguelike genre. Well, as long as I remember how to count, that's 6 indie games. Feel free to leave more recommendations in the comments, because if I keep scaling this series up, that means I gotta do 7 next time. Damn. Alright, I gotta go play some more video games. Check out my Patreon or some shit.